Live from Shore Manor Studios, this is Tales from a Small Town Journalist with Matt Shore.
Hey guys, Happy New Year, and thanks for checking out the second anniversary episode of Tales from a Small Town Journalist. We actually pulled this off. We've been doing this for 2 straight years. I think that deserves some kudos, so, feel free to get out there on every single social media channel that you guys are on and tell everybody about that and let them know what a great accomplishment it is because, yay for us, right? This is the podcast dedicated to all the weird and wonderful stories that you are only going to hear about from reporters working in small communities just like yours. I'm Matt Shore, and I was one of those small town reporters for almost 10 years before I finally hung up my notepad and my camera. And in that time, I got to have some really unique and interesting experiences working with the public. And I got to know a lot of other reporters who also had unique and interesting experiences working with the public. Before I go any further, I do want to make sure and mention that this is a listener-supported podcast supported by wonderful people just like you. There are a couple of great ways that you could show us some support. One fantastic way would be to visit my website. Go check out the bookstore over in the menu. Just look up top. Right up top, click on menu on bookstore and check out everything that we have to offer. We have novels, we have comic books, we have stuff for young readers. There's horror, there's science fiction, there's honestly a little bit of everything. So please go check that out, see if anything strikes your fancy. Another great way to show some support is to really just tell the world. Tell the world about us. I used to say go out there and tell a friend or a loved one or some random person that you meet on the street. But in light of the pandemic, let's not do that. Let's stick strictly with social media right now. Use Twitter, use Facebook, use Instagram. There are other ones out there too right now. There's Snapchat, there's TikTok, there's Tumblr, and probably a few dozen others that I'm not thinking of. Use every single one of them. Tell everybody about us. Tell them about this goofy little podcast and the goofy stories that we like to tell about reporters working in the field and just the strange experiences that we have working with the public. This episode, for an anniversary episode, is a special treat. I don't often speak with people in television news, but I'm going to be doing that this time. This episode, we're going to talk with Mason Watkins from WPSD News Local 6. When we get to the interview, you'll see I kind of fudge that intro a bit. It is Local 6. Make sure we get that right, put that out there. Mason is a photojournalist, and photojournalists are kind of the unsung heroes of television journalism because so often we think about the people in front of the camera, the anchors sitting at that really nice cushy desk that they have in the studio, or the ones going out in the field that you see them in front of the camera. Nobody really thinks much about the folks behind the scenes. Mason is one of those guys. Mason is the whole reason you're able to even see those people sitting at that sweet cushy desk or out there in the field or wherever. He drives the vans, he holds the camera, he does the production work, a little bit of everything, because television journalism, especially in small towns, is not much different than print journalism or radio journalism. You got to learn to do just about everything there is in the process yourself. Mason's been doing this for quite a while. We're not going to say quite how long because I worked with him at the beginning of both of our careers, and that would be a comment on how old I am as well. Suffice to say, we have both started families in that time, so that gives you kind of a vague idea of the time span that he's been doing this. But he's been doing a fantastic job for a very long time, and he's had some really fun and, interesting experiences out there in the field. One story in particular is really entertaining. So I'm not going to hold this show up very much longer. Let's switch gears. Let's go talk to Mason and hear about some of the really fun stuff that goes on behind the scenes in television journalism. All right, I am joined by Mason Watkins, the photojournalist from Local 6. Almost got it wrong there. Local 6. I don't often get to talk to people in television journalism, so this is a rare treat for me. But we'll start off by just asking, Mason, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I mean, I'm just hanging in there. It's tough all across the news media, but we're just hanging in, doing our best.
Yeah, that does bring a question to mind. I've talked to different newspaper journalists about how they've been impacted by this pandemic. How has it changed the way that you guys do things right now?
Well, I mean, we come in every morning. Everybody's got to wear masks on the inside in the office. Got to wear masks in the cars. Like when reporters and photographers ride together, have to wear masks. One has to sit in the front seat. One has to sit in the back. Um, we have to wipe down all of our. I have to wipe down my gear. Keep. We use chemicals and wipes and wipe everything down. It's a lot to keep up with.
I'll bet. Because so many, like with newspaper, they have kind of the benefit of traditionally working out of an office, even though they go out in the field a lot, they when they come back, it's usually just their one computer. So if they're working from home, then they just come back to that one computer. There's not a lot of equipment being handed back and forth. I guess in television that is more of an issue. I don't really think about that.
Yeah, all of the photographers have their own gear. Now a lot of our reporters are capable of shooting and editing, and that all goes in between them. And it's just you have to keep on your stuff, or you can spread it that way.
Yeah, it's definitely scary out there. So I'll say now while I'm thinking of it, take care of yourself.
Yeah, well, we're trying, man. We're trying.
Well, you've been doing this for a little while now. Little known fact, Mason and I actually used to work together long enough for a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
We've got a few fun stories from that, but I imagine in the time since then, you must have had some really good experiences working with the public. So, well, what are some really what are some fun ones that come to mind?
Well, I mean, I've done all kinds of things. I mean, if it's like I don't know how I haven't been fired by now. Uh, but it one time a few years ago, I we have these big live trucks, or and to get our signal back to the station, we have to have a huge mast, and we send that up into the air, and well, our live shot was over, so the reporter that I was with jumped in my car, and I had my camera sitting in the back, and my car is a hatchback, and the hatch was still open on the back, and she jumps in the car and takes off down the street with the hatch open and a $20,000 camera just sitting in the back. And and I tried to jump in the truck to chase her down, and the mast was not down yet.
Oh gosh.
And there's supposed to be an alarm that is supposed to signal whenever you hit the brake to shift it out of gear. That was not working at that time. I ended up getting it hung up on some telephone lines, and the mast. Long story short, the mast came down, broke the mast right off the top of the truck.
Oh man, that's brutal.
It was a horrible feeling. It was a horrible feeling. Then I have to call my boss and say, "Hey, I did something." Because that's really whenever that happens, they show you videos of that whenever you're training. It's like people can really get hurt doing that. I mean, I've seen the safety videos and it's not pretty.
I've seen that mast, and that thing extends like what, 10, 15 feet in the air. It's
Oh,
huge.
it was probably at least 20 feet.
That
It
would have
was
been a sight to see that tooling down the road.
oh man, I didn't make it far. I didn't even make it a block.
Okay.
I jumped in the truck to try and catch her and flag her down. Shut the hatch. But no, I didn't make it. I don't know how far she got. I never did hear how far she got before she shut the hatch on there, but I had bigger things to worry about right then.
What, were you able to throw her under the bus a little bit? Say, hey, it wouldn't have happened if.
Yeah, I kind of tried to do that, but I figured that was a time to be humble.
Yeah, fair enough. I think you were probably in the right there.
I should probably just be quiet for a while.
That kind of reminds me of one experience that we had together when I was there. This is going to date us a bit, but it was back when they still needed people manning the cameras. Now that's all automated in the studio, but I forget exactly what the setup was, but there were three cameras in there, and they traditionally had three cameramen, and on weekends it was just you and me, so two guys manning three cameras. And somehow there was some shot that we looked at it like, okay, this is going to take some really weird timing to switch these cameras and make sure it all works. And so we're in position, we're ready to go. We're like, I think both of us are probably counting down in our heads, getting ready for the moment to happen. I'm holding the one camera, and you were the one that had the unlucky responsibility of like maneuvering another camera, like whipping it around and underneath one of the other cameras. And I can't remember exactly like how this was supposed to work, but I know what happened. The edge of the camera whacked right against the live camera and just spun it completely away from the anchor. So on the live feed, we see the anchor like tries to jump up out of his chair and lean over to one side so that he stays in the shot. And to your credit, I want to make sure and mention this. There's a reason you're still there and I'm not. Uh, you were very cool under pressure. Didn't miss a beat. Like went fixed the one camera, got the other camera back while I stood there with my hands on my head, just not knowing what to do.
Oh, I'm not going to pretend like I've never been in that position before. Just sometimes I just got to put my hands on my head. And it's like, man, that's just live TV. Stuff happens. And
I remember in the
like one time we used to have to move the monitor. You might remember this. When I worked in the studio, we had to move the monitor behind Jeff Bidwell for sports. And sometimes the window to get that in there was very, very small. And we had to wheel it all the way around the set. And one time somebody had said something. I don't know if I wasn't paying attention or what, but I got caught on camera wheeling the monitor behind the anchors. And then somebody said, you're on camera. And then I raised up and slammed my head on the bottom of the television.
I don't think I was there for this.
Oh, man. So embarrassing.
Sounds like it would hurt too.
I was like, who's that idiot that can't seem to get the monitor back in the right spot? How's that guy have it?
I wonder if that ended up on YouTube somewhere.
It could be. It should be. If it's not,
Local 6 has ended up on a few blooper reels on there.
Oh, I've seen a few. And they all deserve to be there. Shout out to Crispy Bacon.
Oh yes. Now we probably should. I remember a little bit about Crispy Bacon. It was catch me up on this. I just remember that it was a name on the Chiron, and the anchor who was on there just couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah, it was Robert Bradfield. It was pretty funny.
What was the news item for that?
I don't even remember what the story was. I think
something about a pig, and then somehow Crispy Bacon came up.
Yeah, the name of the pig was Crispy Bacon.
Okay.
Chris P. Bacon.
That's
and
it, yeah.
Somehow or another, my boss, Mike Spissinger, whenever Robert moved on to his next station, got Crispy Bacon and his owner to give Robert a going away message whenever he left. I don't know how he did it, but he did it.
That's talent right there. It's connection.
That is talent. Yeah.
So what other wild and crazy shenanigans have you been a part of over there at the?
Well, I got a fairly recent one. Last year, me and a reporter had to go and cover something in Frankfurt at the state capitol. And when we go when we go live, 9 times out of 10, we'll use these little cell phone packs that we just connect to our cameras, and we go live that way. We go live over the cell signal. And ours is in this great big black bag. It has like cables and antenna and all sorts of stuff in there. And well, turns out, I mean, when we got there, we just parked, we did all our stuff, got done, and then packed up all our gear, and then we went home. Well, we got probably about an hour and a half down the road from Frankfurt, and we got a call from our producer saying, did you guys leave something in Frankfurt? I was like, no, I don't think so. And we looked back there, we had left all the live equipment sitting in the parking lot. Sitting in the parking lot at the state capitol. Well, when you leave a large black bag in the parking lot at the state capitol, security does not tend to take that very lightly. They
not.
turns out they shut down the entire capitol, and they bring out the bomb squad. So the bomb squad confiscates this stuff, and we can't get it back. And so next, when we get back there trying to find it, and we're there for a couple hours trying to finagle a way to get it back, we can't get it back. So we had to, through the kindness of someone that worked there, they brought it back the next day, the next week. And so that everybody was talking to us like, oh yeah, you're the people that shut down the Capitol today. Great. that's just great.
Gonna have to wear that hat for a while, I guess, huh?
Yeah, still haven't lived that one down. Still the guy that almost blew up the Capitol.
There you go. So how long have you been in television journalism at this point?
Next August, it will be 17 years.
So you are a pillar over there at this point, right? I mean, you've got to be one of the senior staff.
No, not yet. There are a couple people that have been there. My boss has been there for around 30 years. The only photographer ahead of me has been there probably 2-3 years longer than me. He's probably pushing 20 years. That was a problem for a long time. Not a problem, but a lot of photographers, anybody looking for a job as a photographer at Channel 6 was kind of out of luck, because we just had so many guys there that had been there for a million years. And I guess that happens across the country. I don't know.
Not a bad thing. I guess it speaks well of the station that people would stick around.
Yeah, and they're all like, like guys that have lived here their whole lives. So that's an asset. It really is. Because a lot of times you'll have coming in, don't know where they're going, don't know who they're talking to. Photographers can be like, hey, this is where you go, this is who you talk to. Let me help you out a little bit.
Yeah, and I'll say, even when I left there, I'd only been there for a few months. When I left, I wasn't mad or like just eager to leave or anything like that. It's just that another opportunity came up, and everybody was gracious when I left, and I think I even came back and visited once or twice afterwards. My password still worked at the door. I'm sure it doesn't now. I'm sure they've updated since then.
Hey, you never know. You never know. It might still work.
Oh, well.
Sometimes I attack in the door, a mini panic attack coming in the door. Like I pressed my security code in wrong. I think I've been fired.
So far, so good, right?
They didn't tell me at all. I don't know what I did.
What are the other wild things that you've done? Any other local landmarks that you've almost destroyed?
Local landmarks? I'm sure there's a couple of them.
I just had to ask after that last story.
I haven't destroyed anything. Not lately. Not in a few years.
Now that's a loaded statement. So what happened more than a few years ago?
Well, I used to I've broken a couple cameras. I'm not gonna lie.
I have broken one camera. I can take, I can join you on that one. My
Yeah,
camera
I
might have been
broke.
a little less expensive.
Yeah, I was. Where was I? I was outside. I think Franklin Graham was in town having some kind of service over down at the Expo Center, and I was down there, and we were going live outside, and that we were going live with the live truck. And back then we had it was all tied into cables that tied into the back of the truck. Well, I did not put enough slack on my cables, and I tripped over them or something, and the camera just went
Oh,
just lens first. It was terrible.
I
Oh,
not quite so dramatic. I was photographing it was Kevin Skinner, for anybody who remembers him.
oh
Shortly
yeah.
after it was shortly after his big win on America's Got Talent, and he came back and did a concert at Graves County High School. So I covered that whole event, and it was over with. I was trying to get to my car and get out of there before, trying to get ahead of traffic because I was going to get back to the office and upload all the photos that I had because I had a bunch. I didn't want to get stuck with that the next day. So as I'm hustling to get out there, the camera just slips out of my hands and just landed on the pavement, and the lens just destroyed.
Oh.
So I
And
was
it all
rather sick
happens
of
in
that.
slow motion too.
Yeah, it
It
does.
all happens in slow motion. You see it going down. It's like, no.
Yeah, I didn't have a timber moment, but it was close. I saw it just kind of flipping through the air on its way down
Yeah.
to the pavement, and you just know what's going to
I,
happen next.
I turned my back on it and I heard it hit and it just went.
Yep.
And that's all I heard. I didn't see it hit, but I heard it. And in a lot of ways, that was worse.
I didn't get the actual shattering of glass, but you just hear all the parts break off and
Oh,
rattling around. So it's like you knew, like, okay, yeah, this
that's,
camera's done, and yeah.
yeah, that's the worst part. And I had, I don't think she'd mind me saying, Jennifer Horbelt was there with me and she just shook her head and she's like, oh my gosh, what have you done? And I had tears in my eyes. I was, so bad because I was still a pretty new photographer then.
Mm. Yeah, in my case, I'm lucky that I was still able to upload those photos. At least it was just the lens that broke, and not the
Yeah.
not the hard drive inside.
Yeah.
That
But
would
I
have been
mean,
bad.
by the grace of God, I've still got a job. So
Oh, very good. That's good to hear. Um, any I think we've probably touched on all the crazy stories that you have. Unless there's one last one just on the tip of your tongue, you need to get out there.
no, not that I can think of. Nothing that can top almost blowing up the Capitol.
The Capitol is going to be hard to beat.
That's
That
that's
might be one
tough.
of the best ones I've heard since doing this podcast. Well, is there, I guess, anything you'd like to say to people out there who might, like, I think sometimes people get a misconception of television journalists. Like they think they're, I mean, anybody in television, it's like this misperception that they're just rich or something like that. Like they're all super comfortable and doing great. And I try to tell people so many times, like, oh, if you only knew.
I can tell you that. I mean, whenever I got hired at my job, my boss was very upfront with me and said, "Don't come into this business expecting to be a rich man." I was like, "Well, I really don't need to be a rich guy to do this, but I mean, I'm doing it because I enjoy doing it." And, but I mean, yeah, news news is something that you definitely have to have a passion for because the hours are long. Uh, often the pay isn't great, especially starting out. Um, it does get better, but it can be tough. I mean, it definitely not as glamorous as people think it might be. That I think that's a common misconception is that it's very glamorous. You know, you guys get to hang out with all these cool people, and it's like it's really not like that. I'd look at it like I've heard war described in the same terms. Of course, it's not the same thing, but it's moments of boredom punctuated by moments of extreme terror.
That's yeah, that's pretty accurate. It's it's like war, but just toned down maybe a lot.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, because I would occasionally run into that. People would think that it was so fun and wonderful because I got to go take pictures of Kevin Skinner at the height of highlight of his life. But it's like, yeah, well, the next day I had to go and cover like courtroom drama and sit in a courtroom for 8 hours, uh, listening to testimony that just never ever ended.
yeah.
Then
It,
I collected my meager paycheck for the week.
yeah, you don't get paid based on what effort you do. That's for sure.
No, no, they try to take care of you as best they can, I guess. But yeah, you're not
Yeah,
going to
they
get.
do, but you have to be in it because you love it.
Yeah,
And I think um, a vast majority of people that have been in it as long as I have, you almost have to love it to be in it. Uh, but I think I stay in it mostly because I just enjoy. It gives me a certain amount of freedom to cover the stories that I want to cover and work on the stories that I want to work on. And and that's basically it for me.
yeah. I had one of my old bosses said, and I thought this was pretty true, that journalists of whatever it is, whether it's newspaper, television, radio, whatever, they're on the front lines of history. So any major things happening in a community, wherever it's at, the ones who are there first on the front lines are the journalists because they're the ones who tell everybody else who couldn't be there of what
Yeah.
happened. So, yeah, it's an important role, it's an important job, and but it comes with some really uh, crazy things sometimes. Unlike any
Yeah.
pretty unique all to itself. You're not going to get the same stories in other jobs that people working in journalism get.
No, no.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. This was really fun. Like I said, I don't know that I'm ever going to have a story that tops almost destroying a state capitol. So you may win the prize
Well,
there.
let's hope not.
That's going to be the one to beat from now on.
All right.
Well, thanks very much. I do appreciate it. Have a good night and take care of yourself out there. This is risky times.
Yeah, man.
All right, thanks, Mason. It was really good getting a chance to catch up, chat with you about all that's going on. It's not often that I get to speak with somebody in television. Most of my focus is on print journalism, since that's what I did for so long. So a rare treat to hear from another side of the biz, so to speak, to hear their perspectives and some of the insights there. Uh, and it presents a challenge, future challenge to upcoming guests that I may have. The story to beat right now, as far as craziness value, is inadvertently creating a bomb scare by accidentally leaving your equipment behind. So let's see who can pull that off. That's the challenge for 2021. As I close out, I want to just stress again to people, as I have a few times before, to just take care of yourselves and be safe right now. I'm recording this now from what's considered ground zero with the COVID pandemic. Tennessee, my state is not doing well right now. We can hash out the blame for who deserves some blame and why, but let's not get into all of that. The most important thing for everybody to do is stay safe, stay distant, stay smart, stay kind. That's pretty important as well. And when the time comes and it's available for you, get the vaccine so that we can all return to some sense of normalcy. Maybe not completely normal like it was, because normal didn't quite work. Normal got us where we were. So let's learn from that, try to better ourselves and improve from it as much as we can. So that being said, this is the part where I have to move into the cheap plugs. Please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to all our social media channels. This podcast's official Twitter is at Journalist Tales, so be sure to follow us there for news, updates, and general tomfoolery. We're also part of the Shore Manor Studio on YouTube, where all of our episodes are now stored in their entirety and with video. So look us up there or go to tinyurl.com/Shore Manor YouTube. You can also look us up on our official website at www.mattshore.net, where you'll find this and previous episodes archived. Just click on the podcast link at the top of the page. And speaking of Shore Manor Studio, our official Facebook page is facebook.com/Shore Manor. So check us out there for news about this podcast, my other publications, and the kooky and spooky shenanigans of my entire family. And if you'd like to connect with me directly, you can do so. You can find me on Twitter at @TheMattShore and on Instagram at The Shore. So, in closing, like I said, stay safe, take care of one another, be kind, all of those important things. And in closing, keep reading and keep listening. Thanks.